right, guys, that actually rounds off all of the new stuff. But seeing as we
Do
have,
we?
yeah, we're gonna have some.
Should we take some time for questions?
Yeah,
Maybe.
seeing as we've got some very wise men here today. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in chat, and I will direct them at people who know more than me.
And Nemesis may have had some questions from. I don't know if you already got some questions from your YouTube channel or not, but or we can just wait in chat.
Yeah.
I'm guessing I'm going to answer those questions in the comment section.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I was thinking like, not everyone is going to be at the right time to understand them.
Yeah.
There's going to be questions and as I upload this anyway, so I'm just going to take the live ones now.
Why is Brazil in your video? That'll be the main question.
Yeah, that was weird. Well, to be honest, if I'm going to take a small I don't know the word to talk about like 30 seconds about this. When you sent me the message and said maybe you don't like me and stuff like that, I was like, well, a lot of people have told me that you don't like me, so I don't know all of this stuff, but you were really polite, so I'm like, okay, we can have a conversation. And a lot of people seem to think like we hate each other, and to be honest, I don't even know you that well. I mean, I don't know you except for the fact that you're Brazilian. I think you make warrior videos, I'm not sure.
All kinds of videos, but I do a lot of
so I don't hate anyone. I can't hate people I don't even know, and I don't hate people over a game. So okay, I dislike certain things. But
we've got questions, and I think a very prominent one is: will Necro be more viable in high-level fractals or dungeons? Brazil plus! Exclamation mark.
So I'll talk about high-level stuff first. I'm gonna mention. I'll talk about different tiers of speed clearing, I think, and I'll talk about kind of pug groups and stuff like that. In like high tier record runs with very like specific rule sets and stuff like that, where like stacking might quickly, stuff like that, stealth, all kinds of like mechanics have to be used in very good synchronization with everybody in the group. I don't think we'll see Necromancer in any record run videos anytime soon, even after Reaper, as much as I would love to. The damage output sounds like it's going to be great, but in record runs, I don't think that damage alone is going to justify replacing a Thief, because Thief does very high damage, mostly single target, but Thief has stealth. Thief has a lot of blast finishers. Elementalist has very, very high damage output, has fire fields, has fury and might generation for the entire party, stuff like that. And I don't know that you would necessarily, just because of a really high damage output, replace an elementalist. Warrior has banners, and banners are a massive team DPS increase. So I don't know that you would necessarily replace a warrior just because of high damage either, like a record run. But the other spots, like you have, I guess now people kind of fill in extra spots with elementalists or thieves a lot, or maybe a ranger. I don't know. I still think like a ranger might be better, or maybe more elementalists. I don't know, just for even faster might stacking, for like more fire field uptime, because that's just kind of, I don't know. But in like what I would say more casual kind of speed runs, the stuff that I kind of do now, like with my guild at night, we'll do dungeons and we'll just kind of go through and whatever. I play Necromancer pretty often there now. I really enjoy playing the class there, and I'll just go through. There are some people in my guild that would rather me not play Necromancer whenever I play with them, and just out of kind of respect for them or mutual agreement or whatever, I usually play something else. But I think, I don't know, in a situation like that, and maybe like an organized group something, Reaper has, I think it'll probably have higher damage output, so it won't be as, I don't know, whatever. I think in like pug runs, maybe slower runs where people aren't concerned with speed, stuff like that, I think it's great. I think being more self-sufficient, stacking might faster for yourself, where you may not be depending. You won't have to. I guess my idea of kind of playing Necromancer and Pugs is usually not having to worry about other people doing things for you because you can do most of it on yourself. You'll be able to stack vulnerability faster, benefiting everyone else. Your damage is going to be great. You can, if you think you need more survivable gear, like if you think you don't trust Pugs enough for them to like not get you killed, you can play with Valkyries or Cavaliers and benefit from the precision from vulnerability, stuff like that. The I don't even remember what the trait was called now. It's escaping me. But decimate defenses. I think that's cool. And like lower levels of dungeons, people that are new to dungeons or PvE, I think it'll be good there because again, it's really self-sufficient. My hope for this, and it may sound strange for me to say this, I think that it is going to probably reduce a lot of Necromancer hate that people get because I think the damage divergence and like people's perception of Necromancers doing bad damage and whatever, I think a lot of that is going to go away once Reaper gets released into the game because honestly the damage just looks pretty ridiculous and all you have to do is just look at the traits for it. You don't even have to, and even not necessarily even that. I think just the fact that they have a greatsword now, I think people kind of associate greatsword with just dealing more damage. So I think that alone will like, oh, they have a greatsword, they're doing damage. So might help too. I don't know. But those are kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Nemesis?
Well, the way fractals are right now, probably. He's probably right because even in fractals, stacking works. And when you have stacking, you have buffs that scale up way out of proportions, and Necromancer doesn't bring enough buffs. It's not that you are slowing down the team. It's going to be like a minute, 2 minutes tops. And to be honest, if you're not making like the perfect run with Pugs, you're actually carrying the team. It's a lot of the time I was like the only one left alive. But in record times when everyone is playing perfects, buffs scale way out of proportions and you don't bring buffs. If scaling gets removed, then it's totally different because we have to take in consideration DPS uptime. And that's something we really have to take into consideration. With stacking, with corner stacking, you pretty much have 100% DPS uptime. DPS uptime is non-existent. It's not even a factor. And it's been going on for such a long time that people don't even understand the notion of DPS uptime or attack speed for that matter. People just see a number like, I do this DPS. No, my friend, that's a number of a skill that has 2-second channeling duration and an aftercast. You don't do that DPS. So, yeah.
Inks, I know you don't main a Necro, but do you think it's a possibility to see a few Necros in some maybe a little bit higher level and not getting immediately kicked from fractals?
Well, here's the thing. Number one, I'm not the numbers guy. I know Brazil. I know DNT like DeKeys is really good with the numbers. I know she crunches like a lot of that stuff, right? So, just at a glance, if you don't need reflex, and currently, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the current meta is replace Guardian with Ranger. In that situation, if you don't need reflex. Perhaps Necro's damage could, equal that of Rangers, maybe even better. I don't really know. It really depends on the changes. So maybe there's a slight spot there, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion. A lot of people are not going to like this. The problem with current Pugs in general, or current dungeons in general, is there are a lot of people who think that they are these top speed clearing groups. And the truth of the matter is they're not. You can put on all the Berserker armor you want, but if you're not playing that, set of armor properly, if you're not blinding, if you're not dodging at the right time, if you're not avoiding those hits, then you're dead or on the ground doing no damage at all, and you're totally useless. This is especially true for Pugs. So it's odd to me that, if you look at the best speed clearing guilds that are out there and the best compositions are out there, Necromancer is not the only class that gets excluded from those runs. It's just unfortunate that because they don't have blast finishers, that because they don't have these like banners or other things that share party support, they have this connotation attached to them that they just aren't providing enough help for the group, which is not, that's not exactly true. In everyday runs, and I'm not talking about just casual runs, even runs where you make good progress or good timing through a dungeon, there's nothing wrong with taking a Necromancer. And Reaper, for the most part, is going to, because of the damage that they're going to be able to do, especially with the #2 Greatsword skill, I mean, I see no reason why they shouldn't have a place in regular, normal runs.
Yeah.
Especially if you wait 15 minutes to get your party going.
Yeah, that's you mentioned that in your latest video. That's actually something that I think is funny because
and it's happening, and it's really detrimental for new players.
Yeah,
because new players don't know anything. They just go in, try to play, and they just get cursed at because they're not meta. And if they are left in the run, they have to follow these weird steps and stay in weird locations with the camera going all like this. And the first impression, if I would go into this game with that first impression, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? So, yeah, anyway, another time.
I think there is a wider problem with certain members of the community right now. There's a depressing amount of elitism. Oh, well, and like you said in your latest video, in the time they've been waiting for their perfect, awesome super group, you could have already done it. It doesn't make that much difference unless you are going for the ultimate speed runs, using all the filthy exploits and stuff like that. So, yeah. Okay, next question. From Galk the Bloody. What rune sets do you think being good? I mean, for me, it just seems like Rune of Ice is a pretty obvious choice.
In PvE, I'm still going to use strength runes.
Yeah.
I want the Might Duration.
In PvE, it's not really going to change that much because you need the runes with all the aggressive stats on, and as you want to get as many damage multipliers as you can, as many damage multipliers as you can get your hands on, and Rune of Ice doesn't do that. But I think in PvP, I think Rune of Ice is going to see some use.
Yeah.
Maybe Rune of Granth as well, but maybe not so much. What do you think, Nemesis?
I'm under the impression that runes will change.
Oh.
So anything we say now will be like, nah.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's fair.
Because if gear changes, the runes have to change as well.
Right. They did say at some point that maybe not all of them, but some of the runes would change, and we would see new runes and sigils as well that we haven't seen before. Now, this may have to do with some of the new things like taunt and resistance and such. We don't know enough at this point, I guess. PvE, I'm with Brazil. I mean, right now, if this goes live right now, a lot of this is like we don't know the future of HOT exactly. We don't know all of the details. But, if this goes live tomorrow, let's say, strength runes are a good bet. I think, especially with all the might we can stack, you wanna keep that rolling for PvE. So I know Sigils of Ice seen a jump. I'm sure people will try to use them. Will they be the most effective? We'll see. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, how do you think the Greatsword as a weapon stacks up against the other Necromancer weapons?
Well, should I go?
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's not a clear decision. I hope, like I said before, we use Greatsword if you want to do AoE. In PvP, we use Greatsword if we want to do like the Executioner. I don't want the other weapons to be obsolete. And I wasn't expecting, when I saw we're going to get a new specialization and a new weapon, I wasn't expecting it to magically fix all of our problems and be used in every single build. I'm actually glad we have the Greatsword weapon attached to the trait line, so we cannot use the Greatsword in every single build, because people are going to try to do it anyway. Now they can't. So I hope it will have its place, and I hope more than that, that it will have an equivalent place to some other places. Yeah.
Okay. Brazil, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like daggers. I like daggers a lot. Dagger Focus and Dagger Warhorn. And I don't know, depending on like how PvE goes, and also Axe. Like if the Axe training still works in Death Shroud, I'll probably use like Greatsword Axe Focus for my weapon set in PvE most of the time, and I imagine what will end up happening is like I'll Death Shroud with Axe on for the first most of the fight, build up might and stuff, and then after the boss or enemies whatever start to drop below 50%. Probably go into Greatsword, start using Executioner, start building that up, and then whenever it gets below 25, go into Death Shroud 5, then swap back out and just Executioner loop again. So I imagine that's probably going to be like more or less the rotation for that. I don't know though.
Okay.
Because that's how I imagine it going.
Inks, do you plan on using the Greatsword for the Reaper?
Yeah, I mean, at least initially, I think definitely I will. You know, there a lot of people in chat were saying earlier, and I think this is a big kind of a misconception with some people, that they feel like you have to use whatever weapon the specialization gives you. Chronomancer Shield, or, you know, Necromancer Greatsword, or Longbow on Dragon Hunter. You don't have to. I just think that those weapons synergize well with that trait line. So I'll definitely be trying to use it, but there will definitely be people who find specs, maybe even very viable specs, that don't use Greatsword necessarily. But like Nemesis was saying, I hope that all weapons find a viability spot, so that you're not just like, you have to take Greatsword, you have to take, you know, Axe Warhorn or something. I'd like to see a bunch of the weapons be viable so that you can interchange those, and using the same weapon gets boring after, you know, a while. So.
Okay. Here's another question. Is there any possibility that Deathly Chill in its current state could have any decent potential or synergy with the Necromancer's Toolkit?
Say again? What? Deathly Chill.
If it has any synergy with what Necromancer currently has.
Yeah.
You know, I think we already talked about this. You know, people are advocating that Deathly Chill is going to work well with a Condition Mancer, or could work well with a Condition Mancer. We kind of talked about that earlier, right?
Might be the extra, like I said, hybrid. I'm all about hybrids. I was speculating around going off of Spite and into Reaper, and see if I can make a hybrid which stacks AoE burning on Death Shroud 1, and you might add the chill on top of that to keep people on you, and you make like this condition, progressively adding more burning, more chilling to keep the burning targets with you, and you can get 50% of your damage as healing, as condition damage into healing, and make this sort of like melee afflictioner that takes mobs with you and sustains himself off of the conditions, which will make for very interesting farming, because you can burn, chill, and bring groups together and stuff like that, and finish them off and really be sustainable. But other than that, and I'm just saying some things I just thought about, don't quote me on that, I'm not sure it's viable, it's a long way. But I'm saying if it would be viable, it would be in that sense. Now, it matters, it has to have a place in PvE. Because if you don't have enough mobs or the situation to use something like that, you cannot use it even if you make it.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Inks? Oh, wait, no, sorry, Brazil. Inks has already said something.
Brazil.
Screwed up though.
I've always kind of liked the idea of like condition damage builds and fractals, but I think Fractal 38 is the one that like converts conditions into boons and stuff. And there are kind of places where it doesn't work, but a long time ago, like when we used to do Dredge Fractal at like Fractal level 80, it would take so long to kill all of the mobs with power. And we started playing around with like engineers in there with like, because engineers do a lot of condition damage just kind of naturally. And if you kind of use Rampager's armor or whatever, it noticeably helped just having one party member switch to like a more condition damage based build. It was cool. Um, the dredge, you didn't have to worry about critting them for like 1k damage and whatever. So it was kind of fun. And like there are also fun little places like Mossman taking condition damage when he's stealthed and just, I don't know, stuff like that. And I in PvE and in dungeons a lot, like especially like if I'm soloing a raw or whatever, I really like condition damage builds there. I normally just do warrior because it can generate bleeds and burning really, really quickly. But if you can generate chill that does damage and burning stacks and whatever with Doomfire, I don't know, that'll be fun. I had a Necromancer solo build that I played with for a while when Sinister Armor came out, and the Unholy Feast on Scepter number 3 scales per, like it does more damage per condition on a target. So I don't know, like maybe a hybrid solo-y build, that might be fun. I don't know, but chilling doing damage, I think that's useful. It's something I want to play around a lot with when it comes out.
Okay then, how does everyone here think that the Reaper will hold up in 1v1? Brutal 4-0 is particularly concerned with dagger pistol thieves with all the constant blinds and interrupts, and Mesmer, but also again because of all the interrupts, and Longbow Ranger because of how easily they can keep distance away from you. And I think that's a really good point, especially with all the headshots. Your life is going to be ruined by all the headshots. Just, I mean, it can quickly remove your stability, and it will interrupt your long wind-up skills. So your high risk will be very high against thieves in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Well, I think if the chill to the bone gives resistance, I think that makes blind not effective against you. So if I'm understanding resistance correctly, I think that'll be cool, but the cooldown is really long on that skill, so I don't know. Maybe if I don't know. That is a good point, because I really struggle a lot of times with thieves and rangers in higher levels of PvP. So I'm not sure. I think they'll probably still have an edge, maybe not as much of an edge if you have your Death Shroud number 3 stability, stuff like that, and you can maybe keep them chilled a little bit and put on weakness. I don't know, but I think those classes are just kind of designed to have a little bit of an edge over you. And you can't really do anything you can't do anything to them from range as much, because if your Death Shroud auto attack isn't ranged anymore, and you don't have a ranged fear, really, so I don't know.
Okay. Nemesis?
I personally believe because you are this effective in AoE, AoE damage, plus executing people in team fights, I think not only you're not going to be as effective in 1v1s, you shouldn't be that effective in 1v1s. Condition builds dominate 1v1s. The terror build really crushes people in 1v1s. If the Reaper is going to be effective in team fights, in 1v1s, it's like the go-to build. It kills diversity. So it's not going to be that effective in 1v1s, and it shouldn't. That's my opinion.
Okay. Inks?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. You know, I think it's pretty clear when you look at the Reaper that 1v1s or 1v1 fights in general, it's supposed to struggle. That's kind of the point. That's kind of the counter to the Reaper. Besides the fact that you can kite it and you need to close that gap as quickly as you can. There's nothing wrong in structured PvP with having some hard counters or having counterplay, kind of this rock paper scissors sometimes with classes. Sometimes a class is going to have an edge over you, and that's just going to suck when you have to fight, you know, like they're saying, a thief. You're going to want to avoid those, and or you're gonna wanna team up and be with other people that can help you with those fights or peel off of you or something like that. There's gonna be times where you dominate other people, and there's gonna be times where other people dominate you. It's just a way PvP generally works. Sometimes it's gonna suck. That's not to say that you won't have outs sometimes, but
yeah.
It's a concern, but it's a viable one. You're supposed to be concerned.
Yeah, that's the sentiment I would agree with. I mean, the game is asymmetrical, so in the end, there's already everything counters something else in this game anyway. That's why people play it. Based on the popularity of a certain thing, people will start playing a lot of a certain thing, so that certain thing is less effective. So I don't think counters is anything new or anything to really worry about. But no, what was that? I had a really good question here and I lost it now. Did anyone else?
I'm gonna have to leave pretty soon. So maybe if we do like one more
Should
really
we do
good
one more question.
Yeah.
One more we can.
Gotta go to work, make money.
How do you think that the vampiric aura and all the new blood stuff, all the new blood traits, will that be good enough to give it some more support options in PvE situations? Applying party-wide life stealing and stuff like that.
In PvE situations?
Yeah.
If the lifesteal can be abusable, yes. Otherwise, I don't know, like, it's gonna depend, like, if it scales, if it's just like a flat rate, and how often, I guess, it can proc. I'm not sure. Because, like, a long time ago, before the, like, Omnom Berry Ghosts had, like, an internal cooldown, that food was incredibly abusable. Like, Warrior would take offhand axe because that was a second heal skill, basically. Not because it did good damage, just because it procced so many times, and you would get a proc on every single one of those hits. So, if you're able to find a way that, like, you can hit quickly enough, and Necromancer can give each of those hits a lifesteal proc, I don't know, it might be pretty good. Like, Ranger Sword hits really quickly, Thief hits really quickly. If 100 Blades gets procs on every single hit instead of just one of them, then I don't know. That might be a thing. I'm not sure. It's not going to be... I should clarify. It's not going to be to the healing. It's going to be to the stealing health aspect in PvE, at least. In high levels, I should say. In lower level groups, if you are concerned with like keeping your party alive, or if you enjoy running through and taking a supporty role and healing people, then I think that might be an option for you. But in like really high level play where damage is really all you're concerned about, the damage from the lifesteal will probably have to be abusable. I think that's kind of how
from my perspective. That says it orally. It all depends on how much damage the life stealing do, and if it depends if it procs. It depends how much it procs. If it's just one hit, that's not really going to cut it unless it's a really big bit of extra damage. But I really do hope they do something good with blood, because if suddenly necromancers have this kind of supportive side, I think that's going to really help their perception from the community. If they can do something to help their friends, even if it's not as good as, say, the other professions, just being able to provide something to the whole team will make people like them a lot more. But yeah, Nemesis, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think a lot of people, in general, they expect the Necromancer to be buffed to compete with the other classes in the same way.
Yeah.
And that I always say that's wrong. I'm just expecting PvE fights where I, as a Necromancer with a really life siphoning build, with a really self-sustaining build, I could take like all the ads or do the ads in a room alone, guaranteeing my entire team DPS uptime somewhere else. And I have a usefulness in my own way in that particular fight in a very special way, instead of constantly trying to give buffs or banners or stuff like that. I mean, Warrior feels special, that gives banners. A Thief feels special, that he can stealth an entire team and stuff like that. I want to feel special by standing somewhere with 5 mobs and constantly siphoning off of them. It's a different playstyle, and just as Thief can stealth an entire team, I want to be able to do that and feel good in my own way. If I ever feel the need to stealth an entire team, I'll go Thief. If I ever feel the need to put a lot of buffs, I'll go Warrior or whatever, Elementalist or whatever. But yeah, that's my thing. That's my point. It doesn't have to match the other classes. I don't want to play a Necromancer and feel like a crippled version of an Elementalist.
Yeah, I think that is something I can really get behind. Having something that only Necromancers bring to the table I think is really important, and I hope Blood is that. Inks, you have.
And I.
Oh. So no, go ahead.
And I really hope the new PV, because we are getting new PV, it's not going to be damage only. Even if it's condition and power damage, I don't want to be damage only. There are many different trait lines. There are 25 different sets of stats. I want each and every one of those to have some functionality, because it scales the diversity exponentially, and that gives longer end game and more fun, a lot more fun.
Okay, Inks, you have the final word on the final question.
The final word on the final question. Yeah, you know, I mean, honestly, we don't know enough. We have a snippet of information about Blood with what Robert said he is working on. We need to know more. My other hope is that Necromancers in general, not just the Bloodline, but I would like to see tiny tweaks to all of the lines. So I hope that when he's looking at Blood and redesigning the Bloodline, that they make small changes everywhere. Because I feel like you guys can correct me because you play Necromancers more than me, but I feel like the Necromancer community in general was not overly happy with the changes they've seen in the 4-hour live stream. A lot of classes got a lot of big sweeping changes. Engineers, they got so many changes, they're not even done with them yet. And Necromancers, it just felt like they didn't make a ton of changes. So I hope that, you know, I know that Robert is still working on the Necromancer, and he's going back to Blood and the core trait lines there. And I hope that they take a look at all of the core trait lines and make little tweaks and changes here and there.
All right.
Soul Reaping, curses, and power look pretty good. Soul death magic is not quite there yet, and blood magic is only like, if I don't know, it's tricky. If they buff it too much, combined with Soul Reaping and Reaper, it could scale some tank builds way out of proportion. But as it is now, it's sort of useless, so they have to buff it just right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited to see what they do.
I think we can all agree on that, something to end on and all agree on. Okay, before we finish the stream, I want all of you guys to tell us where we can find you and how to follow you and subscribe and all that stuff. Let's go from the top first. Inks, tell us about yourself.
So I have a YouTube channel, Twitter, and Twitch. It's MMO Inks on all of those. So yeah, I cover, you know, I cover mostly news and sort of guides for the general Guild Wars 2 game on my YouTube channel.
Okay. Nemesis?
I'm mostly on YouTube for now. The channel is I Am One and I Am Legion, and I mostly make guides for the Necromancer. I also sometimes do like balance checks and other things that are related to the in-depth core mechanics of the game. And
awesome.
I will be sometimes on Twitch on / I Am One and I Am Legion.
Nice. Brazil?
And then I Am Brazil. You can find me on YouTube by searching Fat Neckbeard or just Brazil D&T or Little Fuckers. But yeah, I'm Brazil from Death and Taxes, the Gilded. I make YouTube videos. I am on Twitch as well. I don't stream as much. I'm working on a new computer. Once that's done, I'll stream on Twitch at /BrazilDNT. And you can find me on Twitter as well at BrazilDNT. And so that's about it for me.
Excellent. And of course, you're already on this channel, so if you want updates on when I do stuff like this, feel free to follow if you want to. You can follow me on Twitter to get announcements about what's coming up and also when the stream goes live at MightyTeapot. And finally, I also have a YouTube channel where I do silly things and make up stuff about Guild Wars, also at MightyTeapot. And that will conclude the stream. Thank you all of you for coming here and watching the show. I hope you very much enjoyed it, despite the weird internet issues. Cheers, guys.